Hi guys, we're back in Gold Coast with our channel.
Gold Coast team. Guys, in Gold Coast, Juliana, myself, and Carolina behind the camera. Behind the scenes, you'll meet her. She's our new staff member in Gold Coast from the one and only Brazil.
Because our Gold Coast team is growing.
Yeah, and we're growing generally. So what do we talk about now? So we are in February 2025. God, time goes fast.
Oh my goodness, can't believe it, time just flies.
And busy.
But we're very, very happy because immigration has given us a great Christmas present with these new changes. Haven't seen laws like this since 2008-9 time. So there's a lot of opportunities. So who wants to start?
You want me to start? Okay,
Yes,
I'll
of
start.
course.
So 482 changes. I think the main thing that everybody might know by now is that the work experience has gone from 2 years to 1 year plus qualification. So that doesn't mean that if you have zero qualification, we can just do employer-sponsored visa with 1 year work experience. It means that if you have qualification, you only need 1 year. If you have zero qualification, we can look at RPL or have more work experience. So everything is doable, really, if you have at least 1 year work experience, because that's all it takes as well to do an RPL.
Yes.
And Juliana is very good with RPL, and I'll let her explain to you what is RPL and how we can get it done.
Yes, so RPL is a work experience, so it's recognition of prior learning. So if you have 1 year of full-time experience, sometimes part-time, we can have a certificate. We can issue a certificate to you based on your work experience. So
most of the time it's a certificate 3, but it could be for a diploma.
well, nowadays more like certificate 4.
Oh, they're doing
Because yes, AIMSCO says certificate 3 plus 2 years work experience. So they're giving a little bit hard time on that. But if we issue a certificate 4 plus 1 year work experience, could work well. So
Yeah, so for example, if someone's a carpenter, painter, gyprock, they can obtain a certificate 3 in one of those trades, and after
1 year work
1 year,
experience.
which can be during the certificate. So we've got people that have already worked here,
well,
obtain the certificate, and then go from there.
no, I don't think we're right. Because now certificate 3 needs 2 years work experience.
Certificate
from
4.
AIMSCO. Certificate 4 needs 1 year
Yeah,
work experience.
which is the same 1 year. Yeah, so it can be during the study.
Yes.
But if someone has 2 years, the 2 years can be on-the-job training. So, for example, if you've had 2 years part-time experience as a painter, we can obtain the certificate, then lodge straight away.
Yeah.
I've just got to check on that pizza, but just...
Okay, we'll keep talking
Yeah,
while you check on the pizzas.
Marcus?
How about 186, the TRT changes?
Yes, so these are also very cool changes, guys. So to transition to permanent residency from a 482 employer-sponsored visa, you used to have to work 2 years for one employer. Now, if you change employers, you can utilize whatever work experience you've done for sponsor 1 and for sponsor 2. So if you have done 1 year with sponsor 1 and 1 year with sponsor 2, we can do a 186 TRT, so permanent residency. You don't have to do 2 years with one employer, which means that when you change employer, your clock doesn't go back to 0, which is great news because...
It's really great news. However, we need to remember clients that they need to apply for a nomination transfer.
Yes, and once it's approved. It's only once approved.
Yes, because it's a bit expensive, but it's still, you don't need to work 2 years again with a new company.
But it's really good for employees who feel stuck in their job and I feel like they can't leave because, you know, my employer, like, is giving me the visa, so I have to endure another year to get to PR. No, you can change employer, and that year that you've done with that previous employer will count. So you're not losing anything, which I think this is game changer in the 186 world.
Also, we need to remember about the positions that are not longer in the list, like restaurant manager. If they want to change a employer, that is a bit of problem. Yes. Because if there's like transport company manager, restaurant manager, which are no longer on the list, if you want to change for a nomination transfer, then it's going to be a bit of problem.
One example of what we're looking at for restaurant managers. So obviously there's synergy between other occupations. A lot of times someone's in a restaurant and now they're told they have to leave Australia. They've been working in a restaurant, so they've been looking at the menu. So if the person now can leave the job, technically they can work in any position, so they can start working as a chef. If they can build up that 1 year experience, we can obtain that certificate 3 and 4 and diploma of hospitality and commercial cookery and change that position to chef for them. Alternatively, they can go on a training visa, get qualified as a chef, and then we can switch it to chef. That's just one example. Obviously, the person has to work as a chef, but there are ways at Solve where we can really
strategize
and be creative.
We always find
I
solutions
like that
for
word.
you guys.
Strategize.
Strategize, yes, that's it.
Yes.
And
So
to bounce back from what Adam was saying about the training visa, since student visas have been refused a lot more, the training visa could be a very good pathway if you're lacking work experience or if your employer is not ready to sponsor you because X, Y, Z, and they want a bit more time maybe to see how you're going.
There's no minimum salary.
There's no minimum salary, and it's only 1 year work experience or 1 year study in the past 24
in the last
months.
2 years. Yep.
So it makes it like pretty much everyone ends up being
if
eligible.
you're on a 485, you can't lodge a student visa.
No,
No.
so you have to lodge a training
unless
visa.
you're really good looking or charming, and you can get on that Tinder and find someone
Like us.
There's no one that's like, we haven't lodged partner visas, right? You guys know?
No, I've
No.
done partner visa.
So we haven't ticked that box. But if you are, then if you can't do that, then the only other option is
A training visa.
training visa.
Training visa.
And that's and part of our role is let us convince your employer for you. So we've got a whole client services team.
And it's much cheaper, the training
And
visa as well.
very
from the
popular
employer
at the
side.
moment. I think everyone is hearing about it. I want to know what's the 407, what it is
Well, that's
that.
because student visas are just being
Yeah.
refused every day, unfortunately, because I feel for students who've put money into a student visa and it doesn't happen. But we're here to offer an alternative to student visas.
Yeah,
as
but
well.
do you think it's the end of the world if the student visa is refused?
Not at all, because we can also help. We can appeal that decision, which will give you 2 more years in Australia. And Juliana can explain what we can do during these 2 years.
So Juliana, break down. So if someone's appealed their student visa, the biggest myth we obtain from other lawyers and migration agents is, sorry, you're a Section 48 bar, you can't lodge another visa. But what can we do if someone's student visa has been rejected? What do we do in those 2 years waiting for the appeal?
Okay, so there's kind of a few things that we could do. So first thing, you could just work in the meantime and get a sponsorship. Then by the time we lodge the application, you need to go offshore, but come back and wait for the decision in Australia. So you don't need to be, how many?
Anyway, you go to Fiji.
Oh yeah, it can be New Zealand, Bali. You
Because
can spend
you
a week
cannot
over
lodge
there,
the
2
employer's
days,
sponsor.
whatever you want. However, you need to be offshore. But that's not the end of the world, because you apply for the bridging visa, go back, come back, and that's it.
Because you don't need to wait outside for the visa to be granted, which
Exactly.
is amazing.
Yeah.
That's,
And or, of course, you can wait for the hearing, and we're gonna help you to work in your application with the ART and see if you can revert the decision.
Yes.
We always recommend, why did you get a student visa? Now, we're not a student agency, so we do not care. We just want the truth, so we're not going to try and sell you gossip. But in most cases, people obtain student visas just to stay in Australia.
Yeah, that's what I ask most of the clients. Do you want to stay in Australia, or do you want just a couple years, a few years, and go back?
Because not everyone is after permanent residency.
Exactly,
It might be an Australian experience. For
Sometimes
a
you
couple of
just need some time, get some money, and go back.
And we will tailor the advice for what you really want. And not push necessarily permanent residency because it may not be what you want as well.
Exactly.
So
what's the first
All
topic?
right, guys. So we are going to talk about, drumroll, the subclass 482 changes in a nutshell. Right. So I'm going to outline them and then we'll go through them one by one. So, as of December 2024, here are the changes. First thing, the list is massive. So we've got a whole bunch of new occupations that are really exciting. Retail manager, so you're working in your shop. We've
Our
got
favorite one.
office manager. So basically, if you're working in any company that's got some form of office, and really important, something that I have been struggling with, we've been going crazy with.
Childcare manager.
Childcare worker.
Yes.
Oh yes, childcare worker. I forgot.
So if you are working in a childcare, you do no longer have to go to
management
regional area.
Springs, wait 2
Be
years,
the
then wait
manager.
another 3 years
Yeah.
and get a skills assessment. You only need 12 months experience, and even if you haven't finished your course, we can get you an RPL.
Yes.
So breaking those down, the 482 changes, what are some exciting things that you've seen through your clients, Juliana?
So the 12 months work experience is the most excitement news, unless, of course, you don't have a qualification or you worked part-time, but we can work on that. That's a really good change. So most of people does have 1 year work experience, especially for people that were in Australia in COVID visa. They can have 1 year full-time work experience plus qualification. Then we can apply for the 482 visa if you meet, of course, the other requirements.
Yeah, so the other requirements are pretty much the same. English is the same.
English is now 5 IELTS
5
for
in English.
everyone.
Everybody
Yeah,
the same.
proficient. Yeah,
Yeah.
proficient. No, it's
5
yeah,
inch,
it
but we only need, before it was 2 years in the last 5 years, now it's 12 months.
Yeah.
And that 12 months can be casual, part-time, full-time.
Yep.
So really, if you're in a level 2 or level 3 occupation, we can obtain that qualification for you. If not, you can replace it with work experience. And the rest of the work experience doesn't have a time limit. So you could have worked, for example, as a carpenter 15 years ago for 3 years and only worked 1 year in the last 5 years, and you can still get sponsored. So that's quite exciting.
Yes.
Yeah.
What else, Julie? What have
There's
you
one
got?
change that what I really like is how you can change employers during your
Yes.
482. One, we went from 60 days to 6 months to change employer. And two, you can, during these 6 months, you can work for whoever you want. And the work experience with the new employer will count as much as with the old employer. So what I want to say is that if you've worked, let's say, a year with your sponsor and you can no longer work there and you found another employer, we do a nomination transfer for that new employer. When you're going to apply for PR from your 482 employer sponsored visa, both work with both sponsor is going to count, where before your clock would restart and you would have to work again 2 years with an employer, and it was very frustrating. So that's a change that my clients have been like so happy about, because they're not stuck with an employer if the work conditions have deteriorated, for example, and they don't have to endure keep working there. They can change employer and yeah, use that work experience towards permanent residency.
And,
so
and
this
that's
is huge.
very good for. We've had a few clients before the changes that were really stressed. They'd been on sponsor visas for 5 years. They kept changing. They're nearly turning 45.
Yeah.
So now, if you've just done 2 years, even if you went through 5 employers somehow, because whatever the reason,
It doesn't matter.
you can add it all together, lodge PR just before your 45th birthday. And
It's a huge change.
Yeah.
And also, oh no, we're talking about 482. We're not
Yes.
talking about 186 yet.
Yeah.
Let's
Now, 186 transition. This is really exciting. So
Okay, just one more thing
Yes.
about 482.
Tell me.
Just remember, if your occupation is out of the list, then you can grow your work experience during the time that you got on 8 days. And then we can associate with some work experience if you have it from your previous past experience and apply for a new position. Yeah, so if your work experience, if your position is no longer in the list,
book an appointment with us ASAP,
Yeah.
and let's work on a way.
Yeah.
So 186 TRT can use several different. So this is the one thing I love 186. So the biggest problem in the past was this. After they changed the laws in 2017, they basically had a list of occupations that could get a 186 direct entry, and a list of occupations could only be transitional. So, for example, unless you're on the a medium-term list, you had people that were on a 482 and they can only get 186 transitional. Now everyone can get 186 direct entry. Why is that important? Because now, if you lodge a sponsor visa and you get rejected and you're in the tribunal for 2 years, we can count that times to the direct entry no matter what. So let's say that you've got a certificate 4 of gardening. You've worked 1 year in gardening after that certificate 4. You apply for a 482 and you get a bit of a case officer that, you know, is not the smartest cookie in the room, which happens a lot, unfortunately, and that person gets and rejects you, and you go to the appeal for 2 years. We can obtain a skills assessment, so before you even win that appeal, you can apply for a 186 direct entry.
Yeah, and then we can withdraw the appeal
Withdraw the appeal.
and
So you've
forget
got
about that
nothing to lose.
refusal.
Yeah.
There's always a way around the refusal as well.
Yeah.
Like,
Was there anything else on the 186? So the 186 now anyone can do. So that also we are going to all our clients out there that had a lot of experience and we're doing 482s because, you know, they didn't have a choice.
Yeah.
If you can now get a skills assessment, we can go straight.
And have 3 years work experience,
That's
which happens
Yeah.
very often, then we could do 186 direct entry. Yeah.
Yeah, the good CISO list is the most important thing, I think, because people are still looking in the old skilled list, but now we've got a whole bunch of work positions there.
Yeah.
We could apply for the 186 direct entry.
If we were looking at, for example, all those marketing positions that
Yeah.
didn't have access to 186 direct entry, and now the pathway could be a lot quicker
Yeah,
through
yeah.
that if you're able to get a skill assessment.
True.
So, yeah, that is definitely a great news.
So we got to 186. We did the 482 student visa, AT sponsorship. So quickly, training visas. We've had a lot of these. So we've had these for sports coaches. Cindy's done a few for restaurant managers, cafe managers, chefs,
Pretty much all
Chefs,
occupations
yeah.
we can do.
trades, professionals. We've had a management consultant recently done it.
Yeah, the good thing is
yes.
that we don't need to meet any caveats.
Yeah.
So no limited restaurant for chefs or cooks. No skills assessment for Brazilian passport and position, etc. So
And only 1 year work experience with
Yeah.
no qualification or just 1 year study.
Very low
That's-
English, no minimum salary, and
And-
it's very cheap.
And what I discovered nowadays is that you can replace the English results by if you studied in Australia 1 year full time. You don't need to present.
Really?
Yeah, it's a good
Or
thing.
training visa, so it's the easiest, and it's a good alternative for student visa.
Yeah.
If you're on a 485 and you cannot apply for another student visa, then we recommend a training visa, which might be a segue to a 482 visa, which is going to be your PR.
I feel like, you know what I feel like training visa is? I feel like, you know, if you've got an employer and they don't want to make the commitment, they don't want to move in
Yeah.
together.
They want to show.
there
they
is
wanna
so
see
no
how you-
salary.
Visa is like the dating period where you're getting to know each other. You
Yeah,
know, you're like
yeah.
hooking up. And then the 482 becomes like living
It's
together.
like the probation time,
Exactly.
and then okay, we can go
And
to the
also
42.
another good thing about training visa is that the processing time is quite long on training visa, and sometimes during that time you find an employer who wants to sponsor you on 482. We can do it from the bridging visa, having
Yep.
applied for training visa. So it could be a strategy just to gain time,
to get in
really,
time
as well.
Exactly.
So
We
it's
just need to be
helpful
careful
for-
with to not be overqualified. Other than that, it's
Yes,
all good.
so that's where we work with you to go look
Yeah.
at that's because really if they have that much qualifications, they will be doing the sponsor visa, and
Yeah.
that's where we can work. Where if you've got a new position in Australia, working with someone you're interested in that job, we'll put together the work references. We'll put together the train. So training visa is a training plan. We've got our own writers
Yeah.
who make an amazing training plan.
and a training
we'll
plan tailored
help you.
to everyone
Yeah.
as
Yeah.
well.
Soulmigration.com. We're in Gold Coast at the moment, so you can book a meeting with Julie or Juliana. Otherwise, Perth, Manly, Sydney, Melbourne, one-stop solution, and the only immigration firm that will look at every single nook and cranny to find you a way.
So book now.